I'm Lucy.
And I'm Jennifer.
You're listening to Everything I Know About.
Each week, we share everything we know about a new topic, equipped with some internet research and a little too much exposure to pop culture. Hey, everyone.
Hi.
We have a very exciting episode today. We will be talking about seasonal fall products, including the PSL and all things pumpkin spice. And Lucy's going to take us into the business model and behind the scenes workings of Spirt Halloween, everyone's favorite fall store.
This episode is going to kick off a series of a couple episodes that we are seasonally theming around fall. So if you're like us and you can't get enough of this season, you probably have friends who also want to binge fall content like ghost tours, the history of Halloween, all of which are upcoming. Then we would love it if you would share the pod with those friends.
Our pod has grown almost to the point where we can start monetizing, which it's been a long journey for us. We would be so grateful if you shared the pod and help us grow a little bit, reach that monetization goal. And thank you guys for sticking around with us for all this time.
Yeah, absolutely. Thanks for supporting us.
We're so grateful.
So on to the episode. I have my little candle here. You can't see it. It's like too hot to touch and lift right now.
Is it pumpkin flavored?
No, I'm not a fan of the pumpkin, the artificial pumpkin.
Oh, damn. Okay, we're definitely going to have a discussion about this.
No, it just smells like clean laundry.
Nice.
Any candle really gives me fall vibes. And I saw you have your little Starbucks.
I'm here with my
On
Starbucks,
brand.
very on brand. I am obsessed with all things pumpkin and fall, and I'm a basic white girl. What can I say?
Are you drinking a pumpkin spice latte right now?
No, because I'm on a fitness journey and I don't need the sugar. I let myself during the fall and winter seasons have one sugary BS latte. I love them so much. I cannot stay away. But my genes don't like it when I have them like every day. So we're just going to do once a week. And today is not that day. It's Friday. Friday is my once a week.
Okay. All right.
You not liking pumpkin products is actually really interesting to me because I feel like most people absolutely do. What is your gripe with the pumpkin products?
Who is most people? Basic white girls?
Well, according to Nielsen.
Okay, here we go. Right into it.
Right into it. According to Nielsen, 87% of the population likes pumpkin flavored things.
To be fair, pumpkin flavored things very broad. Like I like pumpkin bread made with like the Libby's can of pumpkin puree. I think that's different than like artificial pumpkin.
It is different.
So I do like pumpkin flavored things. I'm included in that 80%.
Well, this was specifically on like the artificial pumpkin economy.
Oh. All right. Very niche stat.
Very niche stat. Well, it is niche, sort of, but not really, because it's an $800 million industry. Just
my gosh.
artificial pumpkin spice flavored things. 87% of consumers love it. Here are some other interesting stats on it. 33% say it's overrated, though. So I think you would be in that category.
Yeah.
6% say it's underrated, but the whopping majority, 62%, say it's just right.
That's crazy considering how much hype it has.
It has so much hype. Okay, so I need a personal explanation from you on what the problem is.
I will say I'm not a big coffee drinker. So when I was growing up, my only exposure to Starbucks would be an occasional summer frappuccino, or I did move on to white hot chocolate at some point as well.
The white mocha.
So yeah, I like sweet, clearly. And my first and only pumpkin spice latte, I was a sophomore in college. And in our business school building, there was actually a Starbucks. Like, talk about preparing you for corporate America. And I was like going to a professor's office hours and was just feeling the season. And I was like, I'm going to get myself a pumpkin spice latte, like see what all the hype is about. And since I've only had one, I don't know if this is true of all pumpkin spice lattes or maybe I just got a dud, but truly I could not drink it. Like it was so sugary.
Yeah.
Incredibly artificial. I was like, this doesn't even really taste like pumpkin to me. And I literally threw it away.
Oh my gosh. Well, I feel like you should give it another shot. Maybe try one of the variations, like a chai, like a pumpkin chai.
Pumpkin chai does sound interesting. I mean, it is so expensive too, though.
Yeah.
So like, if I don't like it, I would be dropping like what? It's like $8 now.
Yeah, actually.
So that's crazy.
It's crazy. It is stupid. But many Americans love a pumpkin spice latte. And I was so excited to do this topic because I know it's such an ubiquitous thing in the culture, but I didn't know anything about the origins of it, like when it became popular. Here's the thing. It was introduced 21 years ago in 2003. So it's been a staple forever. But I don't remember it as a kid being a thing.
Were you drinking coffee in 2003? You were 10.
No, but I don't remember like as a kid even like the pumpkin candles, like the pumpkin everything. That feels more of like in the past 5-10 years.
I feel like TJ Maxx, Marshalls. I picture those with the pumpkin candles, pumpkin goods, where, like, literally you walk into those stores and then the whole store is suddenly themed for October.
Yeah, definitely. No, that's true. Like the harvest theme of
Yes.
October, November for sure. But the ubiquitousness of pumpkin in general, it feels more recent to me at least. But this was actually kicked off 21 years ago in 2003. So, just to give us an idea of how important the pumpkin spice latte is, not only to the culture, but to Starbucks, it's wild. So, last year, the pumpkin spice latte made $500 million in sales alone for Starbucks. And the PSL effect is so powerful that earlier this year when Starbucks ousted their CEO because there was 2 quarters of same store sales declines, they put in a new CEO who's actually the guy who led the Chipotle turnaround.
Oh, cool.
And so to boost their same store sales numbers, they released the PSL earlier than they ever have this year. Just knowing that alone, they could bank on about an 8% increase in sales.
Incredible.
So the PSL is a powerful economic factor for Starbucks. Back in 2002, even before the pumpkin spice latte, so their first blockbuster seasonal drink success was actually the peppermint mocha.
Oh,
Yeah,
I've had that.
it's really good.
It is good. I haven't had it for many years, but yeah, my memory of it was that it was good.
There's something about a peppermint white chocolate mocha in particular. Oh my God.
Mhm. It's kind of like a gateway drug to actual coffee. When you're a kid, your parents are like, "Don't drink coffee," and you're also like, "Coffee is gross." So you go to Starbucks and you get these really sweet like, I would get the white hot chocolate, you know?
Yep. That's so funny. That's so true. I wonder if that's why Gen Z and millennials love Starbucks and coffee so much. They were really playing the long game with us.
Right. It's like those Sephora preteens that
Yeah,
are now into Sephora. Starbucks had those all along.
they knew. So after the peppermint mocha launched in 2002, it was an absolute blockbuster hit. And they were like, okay, we got to figure out something for fall. So they had a team in what's called the Liquid Lab, which is Starbucks' product
Ooh.
development lab. And Peter Dukes, who is a food scientist, led the charge. He took 6 people and they came up with 100 flavor ideas. You could say whatever you wanted. It was just like no judgment, throw out 100 ideas. And they whittled it down to 10. The pumpkin latte was actually at the bottom of this list. It was the 10th to
Mm.
make it. And the reason was pumpkin wasn't a thing at the time. There were no
Okay.
pumpkin flavored things. So what you said earlier about you liking like the pumpkin puree, pumpkin bread flavor, that
Mhm.
was the only pumpkin that existed in the market.
Mhm.
There was no artificial pumpkin. And so it wasn't popular, it didn't exist. They surveyed Starbucks customers with the 10 flavors that they were thinking about developing and said, which of these would you like? Everyone unanimously said pumpkin sounds disgusting. They were like, we do
Wow.
not want this. The higher ups at Starbucks were like, throw it off the list. This is a terrible
Mhm.
idea. Customers are saying no. But the food scientists were like, hey, we put some espresso over a piece of pumpkin pie and it actually tasted pretty good. So we really want to develop it. So the higher ups at Starbucks told them that they could test and develop 4 lattes that they would bring into a test marketing group and then decide which one they were actually going to launch. Pumpkin was one of the test flavors. When they brought the test to consumers, they loved it. Everyone was like, yes, I would absolutely buy this. So
Wow.
huge turnaround. So Starbucks launched the pumpkin spice latte only in 2 stores, in their DC store and in their Vancouver store. And it sold out immediately.
How did it pick those 2
I
stores?
don't know. They apparently pick small stores even now when they want to test new
Yeah.
drinks and then just launch it in a few locations. But yeah, those were their 2 stores in 2003. And the coffee sellers were calling corporate and just like total enthusiasm in their voice. Like, this is going crazy. Everyone loves it. And they were like, damn, we got to get this out to like every store immediately. So they
Mhm.
upped the supply chain and it became a huge phenomenon. In 2006, they were like, okay, should we change it up, put in another flavor just to keep things fresh? But at that point, Facebook and Twitter had launched, and the
Mhm.
pumpkin spice latte had become a meme for fall. Everyone was obsessed with it, and they were like, we can't. It's become a staple of the fall season, and it's been on the menu for fall ever since.
Ah, okay, so originally it was they were gonna rotate it out with, like, a different flavor for fall.
Yeah, but it became memeified.
What were the other flavors in this list?
They didn't say, unfortunately.
Oh, it's, like, probably proprietary or whatever.
Yeah, I'm not sure what they are. But what I thought was interesting about this was they, like I said, originally developed it just by pouring espresso over a pumpkin pie. But when they
Mhm.
ate it, they realized that the mouthfeel of a pumpkin pie is so thick that they
Mm.
created the pumpkin spice sauce instead of a syrup. Usually you put a flavor syrup in your latte, but the PSL opened up this new category of sauces. So,
Oh, wait, I've always been curious about this. I know that there is a difference between syrups or sauces. And then now Starbucks has a ton of sauces. So they like
yeah,
accidentally invented the sauce through this too.
yes. It was the first sauce.
Tell me that is not still how they make it. They don't actually just like pour espresso over pumpkin pie.
No, no, they don't. That was just to figure out what it should taste like.
I feel like I need to try that at home. Avery drinks coffee, so we do have an espresso machine. Like that sounds so much better than the artificial crap they're selling now.
Maybe you can just make your own PSL at home doing this.
Yeah. I love fitting a whole slice of pie into a coffee cup. Sounds amazing.
It honestly does sound pretty good. So now, instead of the liquid lab, Starbucks has the new Beverage Innovation and Development Lab. And this is a huge headquarters in Seattle where they have hundreds of food scientists and product managers testing all sorts of drinks. And they describe it as part kitchen, part playground, where every piece of equipment that you could imagine and every ingredient you could think of is just there ready to be played with. There's no rules during this brainstorming process. And I just want to take you into a little bit of how the product development process happens. So they do rely on test markets, like launching to 2 stores, seeing how it goes, and getting consumer feedback to determine what they're actually going to bring to the stores. But oftentimes they're developing for a small part of the world. So, for instance, in British
Mm.
Columbia, they'll launch something. They do this often in the Asian markets, like launching different flavors. But what's really interesting is they actually look at data from how people customize their drinks to determine what the new flavors are going to be. An example of this is people were requesting pumpkin sauce in their chai tea lattes, and now
Uh-huh.
the pumpkin chai tea latte is a menu item. Well, that's just
Interesting.
purely from looking at the customization data.
I guess in Starbucks, when people have those crazy orders, which I feel like is also a meme, people adding like 18 different things,
Yep.
the poor barista has to like type those all into the computer system to charge them. And I guess they're analyzing that after. Makes sense.
Totally. Totally. They call it like the secret menu. And then they like
Right.
bring items to the main menu from the secret menu.
There's actually one town in Ohio that is America's test market.
Mm,
Have you heard about this?
no.
I think it's Columbus, actually. So, like Columbus, Ohio, because of the distribution of its population from a race, age, income, all those demographic categories, it is supposed to be like the most representative of America. And so that's why a lot of fast food companies will launch new concepts in Columbus, because if it does well, then they can be relatively confident that if they open more stores across the US, they would see similar results.
That's so interesting.
Hmm.
You never think about that.
I guess Starbucks did not do that because you said it was DC, right? DC and
DC and Vancouver. Yeah.
Vancouver. Yeah. Maybe Vancouver is the Columbus of
Of
Canada.
Canada. Who knows? The Oleato, do you remember that?
No, is that a Starbucks product?
Yeah, so this was last year. They had olive oil in lattes and coffees,
Oh,
and they called it the
I remember
Oleato.
seeing this. Did you try it?
No, because it wasn't available near me.
Oh, okay.
So they had launched it in the big cities, but even then, I'm like, that's interesting that you said Columbus because that was in, I think, Seattle they launched it, obviously, because that's their home base, and then New York City. And then it didn't do well, so I don't think it traveled much farther.
Oh,
But
yeah. Well, I imagine they're probably like, okay, a big city person is going to appreciate olive oil in their coffee, whereas middle America, like the Columbus, Ohio folks, they're going to be like, that's too crazy.
yeah. Yep, totally. So Starbucks accidentally opened Pandora's box with the pumpkin spice latte. Since they were the first to introduce the artificial pumpkin flavoring, it just completely blew up in the market. Today, it's a $802 million market, according to Nielsen. And we went over the numbers about how people feel about that. Overwhelmingly, people feel pretty positive about the
Yeah.
pumpkin spice craze. What I think is really funny about this is everyone's in on it because it is such a huge thing. And like I was seeing all of these articles from like marketing gurus and consultant groups telling every type of product to get into the pumpkin spice craze. And even you can see deodorants, like Native deodorant has a pumpkin spice deodorant.
What?
Yeah. So apparently what happens is because the seasonality of it creates this false scarcity mindset. And so if you're a pumpkin spice enthusiast, you will just pick up anything that's pumpkin spice during the season and you will engage in price gouging. You don't care what the price is because in your mind, you're like, oh, it's a little treat during fall.
Yeah.
So it's a huge
Limited time.
Yep. It's a profit driver for these companies. So if they had the example of if you're not a cereal eater, but then you see a pumpkin cereal during fall, you'll buy the cereal.
I see. That must just like kill people's palates, though. Literally everything they're consuming is pumpkin during those few weeks.
I know. Wild. So 27% of people actually want pumpkin to be available year round. But companies intentionally don't do this because they can charge the higher price points if it's
Mm.
seasonal. If you want to get into the pumpkin spice fatigue conversation, which I feel like you might be part of that population that gets the pumpkin spice fatigue, the exhaustion, they say, comes with having an obsession over pumpkin spice during September, October, and November. And this is kind of a snarky little comment from Nielsen. And they say, let's be honest, also in August, if your name is Ashley and you're wearing a tan felt hat and over the knee boots. It's like,
Oh,
okay.
okay. Wow, some shade.
Some shade for the basic white girls. That's me. Actually, no, I do have a
From
rule.
Nielsen of all places.
But I will say I don't participate in pumpkin spice in August. That's a little too far for me. That's still summertime. I want berries.
Well, you know what I thought was so interesting is like Starbucks fiscal year actually ends October 1st. So I don't know if many people know this, but as a business, your fiscal year can differ from a calendar year. Fiscal year is just when you close your books for the year, and it ends on October 1st. And so when they're talking about Q4, they're actually talking about August, like it includes summer months.
Oh,
Yeah.
interesting.
So a lot of people are buying it in August.
That is crazy. All right. So now that we know all about pumpkin spice and its origins, let's get into Spirit Halloween.
Okay, so I'll just say, like, I guess from an outsider's perspective, it might seem kind of random that we are pairing Starbucks pumpkin spice latte with Spirit Halloween. But, like, the concept here for this episode is seasonal products, seasonal businesses. And I feel like Spirit Halloween is the embodiment of what everybody thinks about when they think about how can a business succeed when people are only buying that maybe 2 months out of the year? How can they even support themselves? And what are they doing with the other 10 months out of the year? This has always been like a question of mine, but I've never looked into it until now. And it's a super interesting little business case study. I feel like we don't cover that many business topics, so I'm excited about this one.
Yeah, I'm very curious about this.
Before we dive in, what is your experience with Spirit Halloween? Did you buy your Halloween costumes there? Did you shop there as a kid?
Oh, yeah. So I'm a spooky girl. I love Halloween, all things haunted, all things spooky. And it was like a destination spot. Once they hit, I wanted to be there
Mhm.
every week after school trip. Love Spirit Halloween. Were you a Spirit Halloween person?
I remember them for sure. I don't think I ever really bought things from there because they definitely price gouge you. Like costumes were like $100. My parents were like, we'll just home make you something. We don't need to drop $100 on a costume. But I remember every late summer, early fall, drive past any suburban strip mall and you'll see the like bright orange banner of Spirit Halloween.
Totally.
And it's just a vibe. Like I would go in just because I'd be like, I want to just see what's trending, what costumes everyone's going to be wearing, even if I wasn't a purchaser myself.
Mm-hmm.
So, a little bit of the history of Spirit Halloween. The company was founded in 1983 by Joseph Marver as a pop up store in California. He actually owned Spirit Women's Discount Apparel, which was just a women's clothing store. And a costume shop happened to move in as his neighbor. And he was shocked to see that that shop had lines around the block. So, when the costume shop moved on to its next location, he took its place, and it was the best October he ever had. Next year, he did it again with a temporary space in a mall and sold $100,000 of merchandise in 30 days.
Wow.
So he pivoted his whole business. By 1999, so 6 years later, he had 60 seasonal locations across the United States and was bought out by the company Spencer's Gifts. Have you heard of Spencer's?
Of course. Yes.
Okay. It's such a weird company. I vaguely remember the store sign. It's also a mall brand. But yeah, I was looking into them and they sell like the most random assortment of things. They sell clothes, room decor, gag gifts, and sex toys.
Yeah, it's like a scene store.
I don't know what scene is.
Think like emo, goth scene, whatever.
All right, interesting. Yeah, I mean, it has 600 stores.
It's so crazy that they're that popular.
Yeah, yeah.
What?
And now Spirit Halloween has 1,500 locations.
Oh my God.
It's actually the largest network of pop up stores for a specialty retailer ever.
Wow.
So, yeah, that feeling that we just both expressed about it popping up everywhere is reflected in the numbers 1,500 locations. I mean, that's actually a little bit less than Target. Target has 1,900 locations, but way more than Whole Foods and Trader Joe's, which are around 500 to 600 locations each.
There are more Spirit Halloweens in fall than there are Trader Joe's.
Yes. In the United States, yes.
Oh my God.
They're also in Canada, yeah.
Holy crap.
So you might be wondering, what is the business model here, right? Like, how are they supporting this many stores? So there's a huge market here. Per the US National Retail Federation, consumers spent $12 billion on Halloween last year and are projected to spend a similar amount this year,
Oh my
including $4
God.
billion on costumes, 3.5 billion on candy and decorations each. And that 12 billion works out to be $100 per consumer. So it does check out, right? Like I feel like
Yeah.
$100 feels like I would easily spend that on
Yeah.
Halloween. And Halloween pop-up stores compose an estimated 35% of the total Halloween market. So Spencer's is a private business. They, as I mentioned, own Spirt Halloween, so the financials aren't public. However, in 2015, the ratings agency Moody's estimated that Spirit brought in $400 million in revenue. That was about 16% of America's total Halloween costume spend that year. And if you assume that they have a similar market share today, that would mean that Spirit's Halloween sales would be at $650 million,
Wow.
which is probably undershooting it because Spirit's footprint has also significantly increased and it probably has more market share compared to competitors like Walmart or Party City today.
Wow.
It has actually grown so much because their business model is they typically take over empty big box stores like former Toys R Us, Babies R Us, Sears, Sports Authority, etc. And obviously, with 2020 and the COVID pandemic, there were a lot of store closings. In 2020, there were 12,200 store closings in the US, leaving an estimated 159 million square feet in vacant retail space. And that's ripe for Spirit to come in. So Spirit comes in to these stores for a limited period of time. The stores operate for 60 to 90 days, with most opening sometime in August, and then they close. All of them close on November 3rd. Because of Spirit's growth alongside this retail apocalypse, it's very much been memeified. Like, I saw this really funny one where like there was like a Facebook outage a couple years ago, and people had put like Facebook's logo on its big campus in California, and they put a Spirit Halloween sign over it, being like, wow, they move fast.
That's funny.
Yeah, I love the mash of like suburban lore with tech. And the way that they find their locations, so the Spirit team starts the search for next year's pop-up locations on November 1st, but 2/3 of their stores actually return to the same locations, which means that the retail real estate market is tough because that means those stores are still empty.
Yeah.
And here are the things that they are looking for according to the company website. So they're looking for one location, communities that have a population of at least 35,000 living within a 3 to 5 mile radius with a car count of at least 25,000 cars per day. So this is peak suburbia. Like everybody is driving a car. Look at that ratio, 25K to 35K.
Yeah.
2, the type of retail. The stores should be between 5 to 50K square feet, and they should be in strip centers, freestanding stores, major downtown retail locations, preferably with a street view storefront,
Of
which
course.
is why, yeah, the iconic
You have to drive
orange
past
banner.
it. Yep.
Exactly. It reminds you to go in. The length of the lease is only 3 months from mid-July to mid-November, which allows for time for prep and cleanup. And there's a kick-out clause. So Spirit has to give up the lease if the landlord secures a longer-term tenant by June. Because
Oh.
obviously, the goal of the landlord is to find a longer-term tenant. They're only leasing it out to Spirit if they can't find one. And so the pitch for these landlords is Spirit will give you above-market rental rates for guaranteed foot traffic. And there's really no downside because otherwise you'd make $0.
Yeah.
The stores are a mix of corporate and consignment operated. Because I was wondering if it was like a franchise model and like how that would work for these temporary stores. And that's when I got introduced to consignment. I wasn't familiar with this term prior to today, but I guess this is common in like retail and fashion stores. So basically, a consignment operator is a business or a person that sells goods on behalf of another party, in this case, Spirit, in exchange for a percentage of sales. So you, for example, Jennifer, if you wanted to open a Spirit store, you could go, you sign a contract with them. It's very simple. You would be the one responsible for finding the space and negotiating the lease and taking care of fixed costs. But Spirit would send you all of the merchandise. They send you the point of sale terminals. They pay for the shipping to get to your location. You don't have to worry about inventory because anything that's not sold, they take back and they pay for the return shipping. So you can just start selling. And like, yes, you're responsible for the business in terms of making sure that whatever you sell, you can pay your staff with and like also make money for yourself. But it is like a very low risk way to start a business or test out a location because you're not responsible for any of the actual cost of goods.
So Spirit works in this way where random people can open Spirit stores and they act as the
Yeah,
consignment for their own products.
exactly. So
Wow.
the consignment operator is the random person. I mean, I'm sure it's Spirit vets you. Like, I'm sure they're like probably do a background check at least
Yeah.
before they sign the contract. And then you kind of just run that business for 3 months. I'm like, oh, if you've ever thought about, could I work in retail or like, what would it be like to own my own store? It's so low risk because it's 3 months. You don't have to put in that much upfront cash. You just work with Spirit and they'll send you all this stuff and you can practice selling and like marketing. And of course, you have the benefit of the Spirit name, right? Even if you're paying for marketing.
Well, damn. Now I know what I'm doing next July.
So yeah, it's absolutely true that Spirit stores are literally only open 3 months and yet they make $650 million, which, supports them through the rest of the year. They do have a website where you can buy stuff year round and some products they actually put on Amazon too, but actually very limited in quantity. And I feel like that is so impressive in today's retail environment where it feels like a ton of retailers are so beholden to Amazon because Amazon is where the shoppers are. And it's so interesting that Halloween costumes, and not just costumes, they obviously sell decor, they sell like animatronics that I guess are really popular. I've never bought one of those, but people are like buying them for their lawns.
Yep.
And that is still very much an in person shopping experience that they've been able to keep those consumer eyeballs rather than it moving onto Amazon.
That's so interesting. And I feel like it's because the experience of buying it is half the fun. Being in the store and browsing. It's an experience to go to Spirit Halloween. Even if you're not planning on buying anything, you just want to go for the spectacle of it.
Totally, totally. Yeah. And like, I watched a video of, I don't know, I stumbled upon this YouTube channel where it's literally a guy who owns a Sonic interviews other local business people about their companies. And he interviews the consignment operator of a Spirit, and she's fully decked out in costume. And she's like, this is my favorite holiday. I was like, yeah.
Of course it is.
I could imagine. Yeah. And a lot of the staff, because they're all temporary staff, right, feel similarly. So in 2021, Spirit hired 30,000 temporary staffers for its Halloween season. And this is a quote from one of those workers. I've never once worked with an employee that didn't love Halloween. It's something that all employees have in common. It's a perfect place to meet people with the same interests.
Cute. I love that actually.
It's so cute. It's like working there is like your own special niche interest community.
Yeah.
Plus, you get a 25% discount on costumes. So,
Worth it.
what a world. The other thing I looked into was inventory. So, as you just said, it's an experience. They stock so many different SKUs, right?
Mm-hmm.
They actually stock 4,000 to 5,000 costumes,
Like different costumes or units of costumes?
different costumes.
Whoa. Oh my, I didn't know there were 4 or 5K that you could possibly be.
Right. Really niche. And in the early days, Marver would just make inventory bets in January based on movie and TV trailers that he thought would be really popular. Now they do use market research, but like a lot of it is still driven by the box office trends. And actually in 2020, it was harder for them because of COVID. People weren't going to the
Oh,
theaters and like
right.
a lot of movies got delayed. And so it's a mix of what's trending now plus the classics because a lot of their inventory is actually reusable since things like Ghosts, Elvis, all of the horror movie characters, they never go out of style.
Sexy, bloody nun. Never
Right,
goes out of
exactly.
style.
Vampire, witch. And I feel like that makes retail, which is notoriously such a hard business, so much easier because they actually repurpose 30 to 40% of their stock every year. Like
Ooh.
they don't have to try to get rid of it or go on fire sale after Halloween is over. Because I always wondered about that too. Like, are they just losing a ton of money with like all of that inventory as soon as it hits November 1st? But no, they just literally save it until next year.
It sounds like their biggest struggle is just storage and shipping. Because, yeah, all of that is, you can sell it any year. Damn.
Yeah, it also makes you think like you're still paying $100 for like a 5-year-old costume, maybe.
But then you get to keep it forever.
Right. People say that, yeah, I'm going to rewear it. And then no,
Never
everybody
do.
wants a new
Yep.
costume. Yeah. Spirit has come under fire for some of its costumes. So obviously like racial appropriation with Native Americans. I guess in 2021, they had a Karen costume, which I think that's funny. I'm not outraged by that at all. But yeah, there's these memes about fake Spirit Halloween costumes. Like I saw this one that was like unprepared hiker. And it was like a guy in shorts, you know?
Oh, that's funny.
Yeah,
Yes.
sad, sad. And then, yeah, lastly, just a little sprinkle of goodwill in here. Spirit actually has a charity. So in 2006, the company launched a philanthropic arm called the Spirit of Children Halloween. And its goal is to make hospitals less scary for kids and their families. So they go and like decorate
Oh,
children's wings. And yeah, they've raised $77 million to do that.
that is so precious. I love that. Oh, go Spirit.
Go Spirit. It's so interesting. I thought that when I was going to look into this, it'd be kind of like to me, Spirit feels like one of those dinosaur companies, like old fashioned retail giants, like a business model that was created in a different time that maybe like doesn't fit today anymore. And I was really fascinated to see that. No, they're like doing really well. Actually, the way that they've structured their business means that they have very low risk and like can kind of adapt quickly. And the market for Halloween is only growing. Like last year, the $12 billion year was a record year. And this year is like around the same, a little less. But our appetite for this holiday is definitely not declining.
I love it. As a Halloween stan, I love this trend. May it keep going.
Do you know what you're going to dress up as this year already?
No, I'm honestly like really bad at the costume thing. I always just throw something together like super last minute and it's never
Yeah.
good.
Same. Yeah.
But
I was like, I want it to be really good. And then I never put in any effort. And then it always sucks.
yeah, no, I'm more about like the season itself rather than the day.
You're like fall plus spooky. Like, do you do pumpkins or like anything else for Halloween?
I do seances.
Oh, all right.
Ouija boards, seances, yeah, like that kind of stuff. No, we get serious in this household about all of that.
Yeah.
Converse with the ghosts.
Amazing. Yeah. I feel like it's funny because fall, like, it has so many different connotations. Like, on the one hand, I'm like, fall is like PSL, it's cozy, it's like warm sweaters and Gilmore Girls. And then on the other side, it's like creepy, like haunted houses, Halloween, dark,
Totally.
the macabre. Somehow those things actually go well together.
They really do. And we will be doing an episode on Halloween itself and the history, which I'm really excited about. But to all of our listeners, if you have a special interest in the fall Halloween realm, definitely email us at everythingiknowaboutpod@gmail.com. And we would love to hear what you want us to chat about because we have a list of ideas of our own, but we always love hearing from you guys.
See you next week.
See you next week. Bye.
If you enjoy the pod, we would love for you to give us a follow and rate us on Apple Podcasts, which helps us get the word out and reach new listeners. Our sources are available on Patreon, where if you choose to become a patron, you'll also get access to bonus content, our monthly book club, and our eternal gratitude.
If you'd like to get in touch or suggest a topic for a future episode, email us at everythingiknowaboutpod@gmail.com or DM us across all socials at EikaPod, that's EIKA pod. Thanks for listening and see you next week.